You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
If you're looking for a gritty, edge-of-your-seat drama, then the Australian crime thriller Hounds of Love could be your perfect remedy. With a great cast in Emma Booth, Stephen Curry and Ashleigh Cummings, helmed by the brilliant writer-director Ben Young, Hounds of Love follows the abduction of Vicky by serial killer couple Evelyn and John White. It's gripping stuff, and I was fortunate enough to catch up with Melissa Kelly, producer of the film, to discuss the impact that Hounds of Love is currently having in the movie industry. Hello, Melissa. Thanks so much for joining us on the Surgeons of Horror podcast and talking about this great new film, Hounds of Love.
Hi, Paul. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, look, before we get into this great Australian horror thriller, I should say, I just want to ask the audience to kind of get an idea about your background and shed a bit of light on your journey in the film world. According to, if that's okay.
That's fine. I'm laughing. I started out in comedy, but yes.
Well, look, according to your credit list I was looking at IMDb to kind of get my research for this. Yeah, but you have been involved in numerous projects, mainly around production as a producer. And leading up to your first feature, which was called Blame, can you tell us a bit about that journey, basically from the infancy when you started getting your hands dirty up to that point in your career?
Yeah, so I went to film school like most professionals working in the Australian film industry.
Yes.
And then I worked in production roles, so in documentary and drama and comedy, and lived in Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, and also internationally, just working in production. And then I did return to Perth and set up a production company called Factor 30 Films in 2004.
Sure.
And we were producing TV commercials and short films and documentaries. And then we were successful with producing a feature film in 2010 called Blame, which is a thriller or also a psychological drama.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's why I kind of was asking for your background up to that particular point, because there is obviously a similar kind of theme that connects both Blame and Hounds of Love. Is that something that you and your film company are drawn towards as a subject, or?
No, not especially. And I do find it interesting that if you have made a thriller, that you suddenly get sent thriller scripts, or if you've made a comedy, you get sent comedy scripts. And I think that's just human nature, that you're proven in a particular genre, and people see you as someone who's able to finance a film in that vein. But really, our production company is very eclectic in its choice of projects to develop and produce. My background, or my formative, I feel, production years were actually in comedy and working for artist services.
Sure.
So we have a diverse slate of projects, and as it happens, I now include a psychological drama thriller horror in that mix.
Yes.
Hounds of Love.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about Hounds of Love. I know you've done a few kind of projects between Blame and Hounds of Love, but if we can fast forward to this project, this latest project, how did that come about, and how did you and your production company come to be involved with it?
So I've been living overseas in New York, and I returned home, and I was at an industry event in Perth, and I bumped into Ben Young, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and I'd known Ben for about 10 years.
Sure.
And so I asked, how's it all going? And I really enjoyed reading your scripts. Where are you at with things? And the very next morning, he'd sent me a script to read, and I was just so impressed about how his writing had progressed. And he was a very, very talented writer, and I knew that he'd been through the course at the Screen Academy and now had a master's in directing.
Sure.
So it was from that meeting that we looked at projects that we could work on together, and Hounds of Love was one of those projects, because we're also developing other projects together now.
Ah, right. Okay. Well, maybe we'll come to that in due course. So, with Hounds of Love, though, look, the story essentially is unearthed, which is centering around this serial killer couple that prey and kidnap on what would be our central character, Vicky. Was there any real life inspiration that was drawn upon for the creation of these characters at all?
Yeah, there was. Ben's mum is a crime fiction author,
Oh, right.
and he often would read the books that his mum, Felicity Young, was reading. So one book that he stumbled across was about women who kill and also couples who kill. And he was so intrigued that there seemed to be a recurring element in all these cases that he felt hadn't been explored on screen before. And I think that's when he felt as though it's something he wanted to put into a script to create as his, first feature. And look, that said, Ben had written other scripts which, for whatever reason, weren't financed, and this one just had something very, very unique about it. And there are parallels with real life, and because we are from Perth in the film set in the 70s, there is a real life story, which a true crime story, which most people will see as a touchstone, but this is absolutely a fictional film.
Yes,
because it's an amalgamation of many different aspects of this type of codependency in a relationship.
Yes, yeah. So look, because there was something else I wanted to ask you around that too, because I noticed as well that there was a critic that expressed, I should say, that they felt there were some aspects of the Silence of the Lambs, particularly around the predatory point of view. I guess they're talking about the Wild Bill kind of character.
I think they're also talking about the door knocking and coming to the house and finding someone else at the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without wanting to spoil anything.
Yeah, for sure. Look. So I guess my question is more around. We've talked about real life inspiration. Are there any kind of elements, or from the fictional kind of world, or be it whether it's on the film kind of plane, or whether it could be, I don't know, art or a novel or something that Ben drew upon in order to kind of create the world that we see?
Well, look, of course. I mean, as a filmmaker, Ben's a cinephile. He's an absolute cinephile, and so he's watched many, many films.
Sure.
There are nods to Hitchcock. There are nods to Kurtzl. There's nods to Rowan Woods. There are so many things that we've seen in our life that we can't unsee.
Yes.
And of course, these interpretations all filter into who you are as a filmmaker. So absolutely, there is art imitating life and life imitating art in this film.
So maybe shift the question more about it's obviously a timepiece, a period piece as well, because of the time that it's the story's being told. How much background did you have to kind of go into to kind of create the look and feel of this nostalgic piece?
We could have set the film in the modern day, but with a limited budget, we're restricted with our ability to, have a massive wardrobe budget, have a massive locations budget.
Sure.
So in setting the film in the 80s, we were actually able to find a suburb of Perth that was untouched, and that whole streetscape is from the 50s or 60s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And if we set it in the 80s, then that's almost period for the 80s. Do you know what I mean? Those houses are starting to look old. And with that, we were hoping to evoke a time and place, and also just remind ourselves that Perth wasn't the centre of fashion in the 1980s. And that's why, the clothing, even though it is 1987, is kind of like 1980.
Yeah.
And the people's decor was still kitsch and
Sure.
and quaint, and that's what we're tapping into. Is that it's not just about setting it in 1987 and having fluoro and Wham type T-shirts. We were actually trying to tap into what it was like to live in Perth in the 80s, and Perth was 3 or 4 years behind.
Yeah.
And we hope we've captured that.
Let's talk about Ben for a minute. Like he obviously at the heart of the movie is ostensibly drawn from the mind and writer of and director that Ben is. But what was it like actually to work alongside Ben, and what insights did he bring to the film to kind of create this world?
So this was his first feature debut. So Ben had made over 35 music video clips. He'd made short films. He made TV commercials. He'd even made children's television. So it's not as if I was working with a first-time director.
Sure.
And so he's got an incredible, and this is not just his skill set through his education. Ben, as a human, as his personality, he is an incredible collaborator.
Sure.
And it's his ability to communicate and collaborate with a team of people, and especially myself, I think was key to this film being able to be done on its budget, and it's with all its limitations. It was communication and collaboration, and that is Ben's gift. He has a very unique gift, and he's a very, very talented writer. So his ability to observe people, his ability to direct actors, he is gifted. He's a gifted filmmaker.
It sounds like he's definitely going to be somebody to kind of keep an eye out for.
I think absolutely he is. And what was really wonderful is that with this one opportunity of a feature film being allowed to sort of be shown on the world stage, it allows him to shine in his career. So it's a fantastic opportunity that he just ran with, which is great.
Awesome. So let's talk about his vision, because in order to carry out that vision, he would need an awesome cast to portray the characters, especially that of the serial killers, Evelyn and John White, who are played by Emma Booth and Stephen Curry. What was it like with these guys involved on set? And Stephen's obviously known for his comedy. Was it having somebody like him on board an interesting one, because with his comedy, did that allow for a break in tension on set, dealing with such a dark subject that Hounds of Love does?
Look, it did. Our actors are incredibly brave in their choices. I mean, as much as you cast people and you offer them roles, they still had to accept those roles. So I'm so grateful for Emma and Stephen to say yes. And Stephen was absolutely essential, I think, to us when we were working with such difficult emotional terrain, and his ability once Ben said cut, to bring the room back and to make it feel very human again, and comedy can do that, and his charm in understanding that it wasn't just him who had to come back from being in character, but it was also the whole crew. Yes. All the crew were moved by the performances that we were watching. So Stephen was just remarkable in his contribution to that. Something else I want to say about working with Emma and Steve was that, what we're doing is that because those actors are well known, in our makeup, we were making choices that we were removing every element of Emma Booth, as you know Emma Booth,
yes,
and Stephen Curry, as you know Stephen Curry.
Yes.
So we even made choices to cut around. Stephen is blessed with a perfect comedic face, and he has dimples as well. So when he smiles, he lights up a room. And we even made some editing choices to not be on him when his natural sort of gesture, a simple facial gesture shows dimples. And so there we are, constantly trying to remove any trace of us knowing Stephen as a comedic actor.
Yeah.
Which I think worked well for the film and for his his outstanding performance.
Yeah.
And Emma is, has a complete transformation with teeth and contact lenses, and we even sprayed her skin with a freckle, and
Sure.
she's got a half wig. So remarkable, the transformation they both undertook.
Yeah. So let's obviously there's a third person that we should kind of make a comment around, and that's the standout performance from Ashleigh Cummings. And because she also picked, I was reading that she picked up an award at the Venice Film Festival for Best Actress as well. I mean, that must have been such a great moment for the cast and crew alike to kind of have somebody involved within your film and the project to get that kind of recognition.
Ashleigh is an outstanding actor, and she had also at that time just won the Heath Ledger Award. So we were so just grateful that she also said yes to our film, and then she won the award, the Heath Ledger Scholarship, and then she won the Fediora.
Yes.
And she was the only actor out of the Venice Film Festival to win a Fediora. Wow. So we were absolutely... You can't imagine the excitement we felt that her performance was recognised, because it is outstanding. She's the sweetest actor you'll ever meet, and I think she incredibly brave. Again, another brave performance.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's often the case. Well, particularly with this kind of subject matter, that the actors have to go to their most rawest side of their humanity in order to convey that kind of stuff. So
it's so true, and when you're questioning why do these characters do what they do, you're having to think against everything you know.
Yeah.
And so that's why these performances are so strong, because it's not natural to understand the mindset that these characters had to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's take a step back and look at the genre itself. Like, Australia's become fast synonymous for creating these kind of great horror movies. What do you think it is about our nation that draws us to these dark subjects?
Oh, look, it's a funny thing. I think the way we were looking at it is the beauty. Australia is so beautiful, and we're so lucky to live in this country.
Yep.
And especially Perth. And if I relate it back to the location that we filmed in,
sure.
What you're looking at is you have beauty in one reflection, and then you have just below that the ability to disrupt that beauty.
Yes.
And at any one stage, there are opportunists who can come in and destroy that, and that is the fine line that every society faces. But in Australia, we're so blessed because of our location and our isolation, and we live, majority of us live near the coast, and so we're so lucky. We're such a lucky population that at any stage there are these extreme circumstances. I think they challenge us, and I think that's why when you do see films like The Boys and like Snowtown, we kind of go, that's just a few suburbs away from me, and that is more chilling than creating a Saw or a horror film, because it's so real, it's so tangible, and that's what it's that surface of, above the water it's beautiful, and then below the water there's a shark.
Yes. I like it. Hounds of Love is starting to get kind of a lot of kind of recognition at the moment. There's a lot of high praise being thrown its way. So what's it like to be involved with a movie like Hounds of Love that is getting this recognition?
As I've said, I'm incredibly proud of the film because every aspect was crafted. So it hasn't just been recognised for its direction or its writing. It has outstanding performances. It has fantastic production design. It has an incredible score.
Yes.
It has beautiful costume design, and the makeup is absolutely top notch. And so I think it's with all those elements coming together and creating a very intriguing and unique story. I think maybe that is what is arresting about it.
Yes.
And I hope audiences please do go see it, because it's a very finely crafted film. We don't make films like this every day.
No, that's right. So I guess just to kind of round out, obviously. We're here talking with you because Hounds of Love is being released today. It might look hard to look at on the horizon, but what is next for you personally on the agenda?
A comedy. I've just finished working with some fantastic Indigenous filmmakers on a web series called Aussie Rangers.
Nice.
With Indigenous creatives, writer, director, producer, and actors. And
awesome.
So very, very excited about Aussie Rangers coming to you soon. But also Ben and I are working on a comedy together, and it was a lovely foil to be developing both projects side by side, because we as I said, we have eclectic tastes, and we're storytellers, so we don't want to be pegged into only being able to make psychological drama.
Sure, yeah. And that's the rub, isn't it? You don't want to kind of get, as you said, pigeonholed in a certain area. Look, obviously, just to reiterate to our listeners out there, Hounds of Love is out now. Go and watch it. It should be released at kind of main cinemas across Sydney, Melbourne, Perth. Am I right?
Absolutely, and we are an independent film, so you can find details on where to see the film on the houndlovemovie.com website. Yep. And if you like the film, tweet about it, put it on Facebook, tell your friends to go see it, because it's a very fine Australian film.
Nicely done. So, look, thank you so much for your time, Melissa. I know you've got 101 things to kind of truck through today. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I wish you every success in Hounds of Love and obviously Aussie Rangers and the other project with Ben on the horizon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and it was great chatting with you as well, Paul. Thanks so much.
No worries, thanks.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.